Happy New Year's, everybody! It's the return. It's the yearly return of EDH takes. As we do when we come back in January and make a thing. So we're a little bit late on our yearly EDH takes EDH extravaganza. So today, Spencer and I, we had an idea before we send out the invitations to all these honored guests that we're going to have, that we're going to go through and we're going to pre-make our ideal commander pods for the day. We usually do around 12 hours of playing commander, having a good time, having a party, doing some giveaways, doing fun stuff. So we have a list of all the guests that we'd like to have there, and we're going to take turns picking players for our ideal commander pods. But because we want them to get the most EDH takes equity, we're splitting ourselves up so that they can enjoy our presence no matter who they end up playing with,
Yeah.
So what we're going to do today, is we're going to go back and forth, and we're going to go 3 players at a time. We're going to make a pod with ourselves, of course, and we're just going to try to see who can make the most fun commander pods out of these Magic personalities.
And then once we're done, we're going to go through it and, see who won each round and see who ended up having the most fun for the day. So, like you said, Eli, I think we're going to be doing, we're going to be making 9 pods of Commander each, because obviously you can't get through a day without 9 games of Commander. So
now the challenge here and where the strategy is going to come in is because by the end of a day of playing Commander, and 9 games here, at least 9 games, because we got the 9 pods. Now you're going to be a little tired by the end of that, and the vibes, the energy level might go down a little bit. So if you pick all your favorite people at the start, you won't have them to play with at the end. So you got to be careful about that.
Yeah, you don't want to have a good first 3 games, pick all the people that you love, and then lose in the end because you just didn't have fun for the last 6 hours. So we're going to see how this goes. It's going to be all in good fun. But,
yeah. And that's not and everybody on this list, we're inviting them to the extravaganza. So obviously we love them in some respect, but maybe we don't think they'd be the most
fun to play with.
Just different personalities. Maybe it would clash. And we also want to make sure that we get people that we think would play well together within the same pod.
Yeah.
So this is a real strategy game here. And so we're just going to, I think, unless you have anything else to say about it, Spencer, our rules is we've got how many people? 54 to go through?
54 people, 9 pods should be right. And like what we said at the end, I don't know how we're gonna score it, but we'll figure out a way.
Yeah, we'll go over our final pods at the end of it and see who we've got, and then we'll discuss kind of how we think the games would go. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing. We haven't really put much thought into who we're picking yet, or how we're going to do it, so it'll just kind of happen as it goes. And I'm sure that there are at least probably 10 notable people we forgot about. Yeah,
so it just, if you're not on the list, we either didn't know you very well, or you just weren't getting invited. You just weren't invited to the list. We forgot about you. Sorry.
Well, we're still in the planning phases of our next extravaganza, so I mean, maybe we can send out the invitations after this, after we redo everything. We kind of think about it. None of our friends, real life friends, were invited this year because we've outgrown them at this point. I mean, we're
too much clout.
We're at almost 900 subscribers now, going down towards it. So I won the die roll, so I believe I'll be going first. Now, out of all these people, so we've got a few different commander shows and then some miscellaneous creators in there.
They're arranged generally by who they might be around.
And this should come as no real secret to longtime listeners or just people who know me, but I think I got a cop. My first pick, I think, has to be Rachel Weeks from the Command Zone. I just think Rachel's a fun person. She's a really good Magic player. She's got a lot of things I'd like to ask her about, too. I was a big Commander Sphere fan, and I think she'd be a good time to play with. So I'm going to go, my first pick will be Rachel from the Command Zone.
Okay. That's a good pick. Let's see, who do I want to go with here?
That's tough.
Yeah, I you know what? Maybe this is just picking too high too fast, but I don't want you to take Josh Lee Kwai away from me, so I'm gonna go with Josh Lee Kwai. He's someone I want to play with.
JLK.
And I would be remiss if you took him away from me. So that's my first pick.
I won't take him away from you, but the Fires in Los Angeles, they just might. So we'll have to see. Hopefully he makes it through. All right, so we've got so far our first picks. You've got Josh, I've got Rachel.
Yeah.
Pick number 2 for pod number 1. Now, it's tempting to front load all the Command Zone people in the same pod. But, I mean, you get to see that all the time, right? So I feel like I've got to go somebody from a different show. I think my second pick for somebody who would go well with Rachel Weeks. This is greedy. I think I'm going to go Shivam. I want to make sure I've got Shivam, and I think him and Rachel, that'd be good vibes.
I think Shivam's not a high pick, but you just don't want to lose him to me. I understand that. That's fair. That's a fair point.
Mr. Casual Magic himself. Just another person. Because, this is the start of the day, too. I want to get my energy up. Like, this, might be wrong to, put this many, heaters in the first pod, but I want to, make sure I've got, a good feeling about the rest of the day.
Well, another strategy for it is if I think that this pod is going to be, I just can't beat you, I might just, start picking some picks that I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I might give up and start taking some picks that I value pretty lowly. So, but I think with Josh here, I think I still got a good shot. So I think for my pick 2, I think I might have a better chance of winning the game if I put 2 sworn enemies against each other.
Oh shit.
Both high picks though, but sworn enemies. They have got a history of disagreement. I'm picking Brian, Tulare Community College, the professor.
Ooh, the prof.
Yep. So
that's a good pod.
If you didn't know the lore there, Brian and Josh used to have a debate show that they did where they debated Commander topics in a real debate format, and it was kind of interesting. So
the In Response debate show.
So
we've talked about just stealing that idea before, so we might just go ahead and lay claim to that one since nobody else wants it.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of non-confrontational Magic players that don't want to debate their ideas. They don't want to defend them in the marketplace of ideas anymore.
So that's what I got. What are you thinking, Eli?
To round out the pod, so I've got 2 amazing vibe type people. So I feel like we've got a few people in here that, like we said, we love everyone here, but we might not enjoy them that much. So I feel like the strat is I've got a little kind of cushion personally with Rachel and Shivam. Maybe I mix it up a little bit. Maybe I put somebody in that
well, we gotta fit them all to tables eventually, right? So,
and on occasion, I like to be a bit of an agent of chaos. So, I think I might put with Rachel and Shivam of I Hate Your Deck fame, Michael David Lynch.
Oh, now that is an interesting pick. I think. Okay, Eli.
I'm doing it. I've pulled the trigger on that one. This is going to be bad, but no going back now.
I think for his synergy with the professor, I'm going to go with Gavin Verhey.
Ooh, Gavin.
Yeah, I think that's...
See, this seems like a pod that's just like a good pod. Like, it's 3 very good people. You didn't decide to ruin it like I did with mine.
That's okay.
But that's a tactical play. I'm playing the long game with that one.
Yeah, I think I've wasted some of my picks, so far. So, all right.
Well, going into pod number 2, so I think you're going to start this one off now.
All right. Let's see. Well, I think I'm going to have to go with my favorite Commander Clash player for the start of pod 2, and that's going to have to be, for me personally, I'm going to go with Seth. So we're going to go Saffron Olive, Seth, as my first pick for round 2.
So yeah, Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive. That's a good pick. I like Seth. He seems like good vibes. He's also a fellow, not from the Min Coda area, but he's a fellow Midwesterner, isn't he? Isn't that how you explain his interesting voice, to say the least?
Yeah, and I think I've watched a fair number of their random tier list videos that rating things. I think Seth most closely aligns with my opinions. So I want to see him in that pod.
Nice. That's a good start to pod number 2. Now, me personally, I think I got to get him while I can. I'm going to pick the war leader as the leader of pod number 2. PJ, Commander Replay.
It's a shame. I wish I would have got him, but you're just too...
You snooze, you lose, Spencer.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pick all the Boros people for, number 1 of my pods.
Well, if you're looking for all the Boros people, then I think I might have to steal from you Alex from the Spike Feeders.
Ooh. So we got Seth and Alex in your pod number 2 so far.
Yeah, so I think for Alex, it's just I got to steal all the Boros savants away from you, Eli. It's Alex, very famous for his episode on Boros. He did a podcast with
Playing with
Power podcast where he described how to fix Boros by utilizing the modular mechanic.
I'm glad you took, because I wouldn't want. I think if I played with him, I'd play a Boros deck, and he'd be trying to tell me that it needs a bunch of modular cards in it, in my Bassandra deck. He'd be like, "Have you thought about playing?
You thought about playing the Javelineer, the 1 mana?
You ever play Zabaz in a deck? It can destroy your modular cards at instant speed to get the counters on something else.
Yeah, I think that's cool. A good design space we should go in.
So yeah, I'm not sad to see Alex go, but I kind of see what you're doing.
Yeah, you can't have all Boros pods.
For my next pick,
Oh, you better not. You better not make the Boros pod.
No, I got to spread them out a little.
Okay, good.
As much as PJ, who would PJ like to play with is the question. Who would I like to see PJ play with?
That's a good question.
I'd love to see him play with Josh Lee Kwai, but you've stolen that from me. So I think for PJ, I'm going to pick Dana Roach from EDH Recast.
Oh, that's a Clash of Titans.
I don't know if you remember their spat on Twitter that one time, but I'm going to pick Dana Roach.
That would be an interesting game. The clash of personality, I think it would be great.
Yeah, I think that would be a great time. So yeah, I'm going to pick...
PJ, known for his Aurelia Weapons of War deck, and Dana Roach, known for his blue-white partner equipment deck.
His Essior and Arden deck, I believe, that Stoneforge Mystic is not good enough for.
Yeah, that's the all I remember about that was that tweet or something. Was it PJ that recommended that, or did I recommend? What was the context?
I think he just brought it up unprompted, but PJ dared to recommend
Blacksmith Skill.
Yeah, a 1 mana protection spell as opposed to Not of This World. That 7 mana Eldrazi counter spell that you can play for free if you have a huge creature.
Yeah,
and. It was not okay with PJ. He was out of line, frankly.
Yeah. Well, maybe they can rehash it in the pod,
Yeah, they can. I'd like to see them, he might be the war leader, but I'd like to see him make peace.
Yeah,
with Dana.
Exactly.
With a former rival.
Okay.
All right, how do you want to round out your second pod, Spencer?
Yeah.
With Seth and Alex.
Seth and Alex. Let me think about that. Well, I think Alex is just going to run away with the game unless I bring in someone to curb him. So I got to bring in a chaos factor, okay? So in that case, you know who we need? Josh Murphy from the Command Zone podcast. We need Murph. Murph is a good vibe. He's going to be there on my side. He's going to do what's right. And frankly,
also, he'll back you up with the rule stuff. He's a judge, right? Or he's kind of a judge in training. He does their judging for stuff.
I think he's been in there for Game Nights Live and stuff. I don't remember.
Murph
exactly.
is good to have in a pod. I think Murph is good.
And I think taking Murph away from you is a pretty noble cause. I can throw him in the Alex pod and you don't get him. It's fine.
No, this is a very I don't want to say no judgments on people personally. Like we said, this isn't very serious or anything. But having Seth, Alex, and Murph pod number 2, that's a very that's a neutral pod. That's not it's not gonna give you a bad time. I don't think it's not gonna give you the best time, maybe, but it's very neutral.
You gotta fit your chess pieces where you can, right?
Yeah, it's not gonna drain you out, and it's not gonna really hurt you in the long.
Especially early in the day, I can handle that.
That's a good pod. So I think for my pod number 2, I think, like I said, I've got PJ, I got Dana, and they're both very good players, very serious men when it comes to Commander. I think to help kind of build the bridge between them and like get them on each other's side, I need to introduce an element of chaos, a common foe. I'm going to pick Krim.
Damn it. I was thinking about him.
Because if Krim does something silly, if he tries to troll a little bit, now PJ's not going to appreciate it.
Yeah.
And PJ will get mad. And Dana, likewise, might do the same thing. He might back up.
He will not suffer a troll.
They might find common cause against Krim. And Krim will be a good sport about it. If PJ goes, Krim, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't, you're targeting my thing? Oh, bad threats. Like, Krim's just going to laugh about it. He's not going to, like, take it personally, right?
Yeah, I get you. So, that's a good pod. But I'm already thinking about my oh no, you start for 3. I can't even get ahead. I'm getting ahead of myself. So
yeah, what should I
on to pod 3? What are you thinking?
We're coming up on. After this pod, we'll be a third of the way through the day. So this is kind of like the
last of the first.
This feels
leg.
like the first. You know when like you're running laps or something, you're trying to like run them out. Like this, is like your first lap, like finishing that up. Because by the end of 3 games is when you might start getting a little bit tired. So I feel like I've got to do something kind of light, like something kind of neutral, like we did for pod 2.
After every 3 games, you gotta take a snack break, you know. So we gotta, you can refresh yourself. If, the last leg. Yeah, what you got?
I think I got to snatch up Tomer.
Okay, respectable pick. Tomer's. I think he's gonna be
commander.
He's gonna be good vibes.
Yeah, I'll pick Tomer to lead off my pod 3.
Now I've got a controversial strategy here going on. Okay, so I'm thinking. The last leg of the last lap of the first, or the end of the first lap, right? But I'm thinking I'm only going to get more tired and tired as the day goes on, okay? And there's some people here that I'm not going to want to play with at the end of the day, okay? So I'm going to have to I got to make my CDH pod right now, okay? I got to make it because I will not be able to handle the CDH pod at 7 p.m. So I'm going to go ahead and take my favorite CDH player first here. We're going to take Rebel.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so sorry.
You got Rebel.
Yep, so. And I think I got a couple thoughts about how I want to take this forward, but I'll let you go first, so.
That's a good thought. Now, as soon as you start talking about CDH players, I was thinking I've got to grab Rebel out of that bunch, but.
Sorry.
So for my pod number 3... go with Tomer.
Yep, Tomer.
I feel like Tomer's he's my ally out of the bunch. I want to make sure I've got enough good players left for the rest of the day. So Tomer, I'm gonna take Matt Morgan.
Okay.
He seems like a nice guy. I have no problems with Matt, but I also don't know him that well.
Matt is he a fellow Midwesterner, or is he?
I don't think so.
Not?
Dana's from Wisconsin, but Matt, I think he's more
okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure about him.
He's more traveled.
But yeah, Matt, he might be my favorite guy from the EDH Rec cast crew.
That's fair.
But I just really don't know what type of Magic he plays that much, so I don't really know that much about his commander playstyle. From what I've heard, it sounds like he just does aggro. He likes Selesnya a lot. Seems like he'd be a good just mellow person to have with Tomer. Seems like a good time. Because Tomer also, he kind of strikes me as a little bit of a, kind of an anxious guy, kind of squirrely sometimes.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I am too. So, I feel like Matt would be a good calming presence for Tomer, just to, keep our energy level, a little bit low and, just chill.
On a tangent, I think if you were going to rate, the color combinations based on how enjoyable of an experience you'd expect to play it, to be a play against. I think Selesnya is up there as probably going to be a pretty chill.
That's what I think. Yeah.
So there you go. Okay. All right. So I've got Rebel. We're making my CEDH high-powered pod. Okay. But the thing about Rebel is she can definitely be versatile, and we can play some high-power commander that isn't necessarily CEDH. So I'm going to pick someone that I think is going to be able to play up to that level, but also be flexible. And I think a good person to go in a CEDH pod to play at that level, but also to be a chill, enjoyable person to play with, I'm going to go with Stephen Green.
Stephen Green. And actually, I think Rebel's also a big Stephen Green fan.
Oh, really?
That's
so
synergy.
that's synergy. I didn't even know about that. But that's just, we think the same way, you know? So that's fair.
Stephen Green, good pick.
Yeah, I think Stephen Green might be one of my favorites. I don't know. I just think he's a good pick here, but I don't know how I feel about who's my number one from Commander Versus, but Commander Versus is a classic, so you can't really go wrong with anyone from there.
Yeah, you actually got me thinking for my final member of pod number 3, like I was saying, kind of the chill vibes thing I'm going for. I think to go with Matt and Tomer, I'm going to pick Jeremy Knoll. Very nice guy.
Okay.
And I feel like now that we've opened the Commander Versus can,
yeah,
it's a free for all now. We got to get him while we can. So I'm gonna pick Jeremy while he's still up here.
And to round out Rebel and Stephen Green, good synergy here. I'm gonna go with Joe Johnson because he's gonna bring that to spice.
He will bring the spice.
So we're gonna go Joe for this one here.
Nice.
Good
like
spot.
That.
Good spot to pick him, I think.
And so it's back to you for the first pick of Pod 4.
Okay, Pod 4 here. I'm going Lady Danger. I'm doing it. I'm taking her.
Lady Danger.
We're starting the pod off. We're gonna have a nice, chill, jovial game. That's what I'm going for here.
Maybe see some murders.
Yeah.
Commander. Nice.
Exactly. Some Vampire Nighthawks.
Yeah,
classic
Lady Danger,
commander.
She seems like the type of person you need to kind of wake you back up after 3 pods of commander. Because at this point we're probably 4.5 hours into the extravaganza at the very least. Kind of getting a little tired.
Exactly.
Like I said, maybe have a snack break or get a drink or something after pod number 3. So Lady Danger, that's a good one. Okay, I'm gonna go with. Man, but I feel like I gotta wake myself. Not to say he's not an exciting guy, but I want to make sure that I get him. I want to. Because he's a treasure trove of knowledge on the Commander format. I'm going to pick Benny Smith, the man who wrote the book on Commander.
Literally.
Which we may or may not be working on something with that. So a
little teaser.
Little teaser for the listeners. So with Lady Danger, who is next in your pod number 4, Spencer?
I think... Good Lady Danger synergy. Let me think here. I think I gotta go. I think I'm gonna go with Lua Stardust.
Okay.
Do you see the synergy?
Because they're women.
No,
we like it, Spencer. We like being the girl's girl.
Oh, no, it's okay. You're gonna see. I'm gonna round this out with my third pick, and you're not gonna see it coming.
I like it.
It may seem like you're just picking the women, right? But. No, I'm going somewhere with this, okay? You just gotta wait and see.
I like Lua. Well, now you got me thinking that I need to get my own Scry baby.
Oh, okay. We're good. You can have her. I don't want you to steal my pick, so.
Because, it's my understanding, like Lua and Tor, when I say, somebody's a new Magic player at this point, they could have been playing for, the last 5 years, and that's just, what I consider it, because the last few years have just been, such a blur to me, and there's been a lot going on, but, I feel like the Scry Baby's a pretty new channel, a relatively new Magic channel.
Yeah.
And so it might be nice to see some kind of crossover between the new blood of the Commander format with Benny Smith
and the fossils.
And not that Tori's she doesn't know anything, but maybe she'd like to kind of get some insight from the man himself, Benny Smith. So I wouldn't deprive a Scry Baby of perhaps if they're the Scry Babies and Benny's he's the commander grandfather, kind of.
Exactly.
He's the old man figure.
I think the Scry Babies could take the knowledge gained from Benny Smith and pass it on to a new generation.
So I'll pick Tori, I think. Yeah, just so like you said, they can transfer his wisdom to their subscribers, their watchers.
All right, Eli, you may have gotten the other Scry Baby, but that was not what I was aiming for.
This is my Lynch pick. Going for Jimmy. I almost thought that we had picked Jimmy already.
Yeah, I think
Jimmy Wong.
Already have the synergy with Lady Danger, and adding in Lua Stardust to the mix just makes it an easy Jimmy pick. He's got the restraint to deal with these chaotic figures in the commander community.
He's a man of chaos though. He's Mr. Mono Red.
Yep. So he can play with the best of them, but he also knows how to hold himself back. So I think Gonna have a hard time beating that one, Eli, but let me see what you can do for the rest of your pick 4.
You got Jimmy and Josh, but at least I got Rachel of like the main Command Zone hosts. So to go with Tori and Benny. I kind of wish that I had Murph, because like I was talking about, like getting like some young blood in there with like Benny.
It's all part of my plan.
Who else could use Benny's wisdom, or who would balance him out? Ooh, I think I know. Somebody who needs to be taught some respect for the old version of Commander, the old guard. Somebody needs to respect a card like Grave Titan. Beezy. Benny could teach him a thing or two about being such a power gamer in Commander.
I think Beezus could get some good value from that pod.
I think that Beezy's going to go in my pod.
Okay, we taking him. I'm taking Beezus.
Beezy from the Nitpicking Nerds. And see how he gets along with Benny Smith.
That's like an enjoyment pick. Like you're picking that to see what happens.
That's going to be most of my pods, to be honest.
Like nuclear fusion, right? Like you're just going to smash them together.
I just want to make things happen. I want to make interesting things happen.
Okay. Okay, in that case, let's see, who are we looking for? Okay,
so we're on to pod number 5.
Right? No, you're going first here. Sorry. Gonna overstep my bounds.
Yeah, pod 5. Man, this is gonna get harder as we go on, obviously, because like we're picking like a lot of the heaters at the start. And I'm trying not to like overextend in that way. But I got thinking about like people that go good with Benny, and I almost wanted to pick for my last pod Jim from the Spike Feeders. He reminds me a lot of a good friend of mine that I used to play Commander with. And he's also on the rules committee. And so I was thinking like maybe like him and Benny would be good. Like we got the man who literally wrote the book on Commander, and the guy who just over the last like 2 years ago that joined the rules committee, who's all of a sudden acts like he might think he wrote the book on Commander.
Yeah.
But I mean Jim seems like a cool guy, and I thought it might be nice to have like, you know, Benny and like a RC member, but that's too greedy. That's too greedy of a pod. You
gotta spread them out.
I already had my pod with Shivam and Rachel both in it, which is like two, like I feel like that's like the Mount Rushmore almost. And then you've got Lynch up there. You've got the But I think I'm gonna go with Jim as my first pick of pod 5.
I think for my first pick of round 5, I think I'm going to take up Kathleen from Loading Ready Run. She's a good vibe, nice. So I think that's going to be a good start for a pod. Pretty flexible too. I think she has synergy with the shuffle up and play crew, so I got some good pickings there. But also, I feel like she could fit in with a lot of different people, so we're going to start with her.
Yeah, and she's fun too. She's fun. She's a funny person.
Yeah.
And a lot of good stories you could ask them about, like the making of like Friday nights or something. And yeah, she seems like very good vibes. So we got Kathleen. To go with Jim, I'm thinking, along the lines of making some sparks fly. Now, not that Jim was necessarily involved at this time, but you know somebody who really does not care for the rules committee. Mitch from the Commander's Quarters.
Oh.
I think I'm going to pick Mitch.
Okay.
Or old friend Mitch.
Do you think that Jim would be able to play Commander with integrity in a game with Mitch?
We'd have to see. Yeah. You know, like we'll see if he can help himself, or if he's going to bring out his Walking Dead Commander deck, his Rick deck.
Now, that's a shame, because I was hoping to snatch up Mitch for my Nightmare pod, but that's okay. Like I was alluding to earlier, I think I am going to try to take someone from the Shuffle Up and Play cinematic universe. So I think we're going to go with Ristic Studies. Magic Man Sam.
Good pick.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a good vibe.
Strong
for sure.
Pick.
Yeah.
And they're pretty friendly too, as I understand. They've done things too. I mean, you know, Loading Ready Run, they always did like the pre-releases, and I'm pretty sure Magic Man Sam has gone to at least like 2 or 3 of those.
So they both must be in the Toronto area? Is that it? Does that sound
right?
Right?
They just fly people out there.
Okay.
Like I don't know if he's Canadian or not, but yeah, they're friendly, so that's a good pick.
And we got the we're up here in the north, the great north of the U.S., so we got some synergy with those Canadians
you
up
keep
there.
doing this thing. You keep picking people who are like friends. Have you considered picking people who hate each other like I do? Picking enemies?
I think if I pick them at the end of the night, they'll clash even more. So then I'll be more enjoyable there for me.
You know what I think I need for Mitch and Jim? I think I need somebody who not to slander him as a normie, but I think I need just like a more normal person. And Jim's a nice guy and everything, but he's gonna have to deal with Mitch. I feel like I need like a balancing force to like deal with Mitch. Somebody who's got a strong personality, but like in a way that's he's not gonna like be real like pissy about the game of Magic in any way.
Yeah.
I think Jonathan Suarez from Commander Versus.
Yeah.
I think he'd go good with these guys, so I think I'm going to pick him.
Do you think Mitch might show up to that game in a diaper?
This is a 12-hour EDH
You
takes
need to get it
extravaganza.
changed at some point.
Like, you don't want to waste your time playing Commander using the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly.
So, there's a pretty good chance.
Yeah. That's such good lore. It's such a fucking epic meme.
All right, so for your third pick of Pod 5, Spencer, you got Kathleen, you got Sam.
Let's see. Oh, you know who I would want to see play with Kathleen and Sam? Just because I want... This is a great pod, but I think it's a little bit too normal. Like a normal game of Commander. So I need to add like some real fucking big brain people into this, okay? Someone who's going to make me think. Someone that's going to help me learn and improve as a player. And for me, that's going to have to be Richard from Commander Clash. I think
very good pick.
Putting Richard in that pod, he's going to make some unorthodox plays. He's got a very unique way of looking at the game that it's kind of crazy because Richard he's like one of two things. He's either like says something that's just like, that's insane, you're insane. Or it's like, wait a second, that's the smartest thing I've ever heard. So I think Richard's gonna make some sparks fly in my pod.
I like that's a powerful pod. That's like three like figureheads of major Magic content. Like not necessarily like I guess MTG Goldfish isn't like they have a YouTube channel and stuff, but like you got Ristic Studies there, you got Loading Ready Run.
Oh yeah, big YouTuber and EDH Takes me.
That's insane. Oh my god, that's the real Mount Rushmore of Commander. Okay, so whose turn was it to pick first now for Pod 6?
Should be me now, I think.
All right, who are we thinking for
Pod
number 6? At this point, we're over the hill. We're halfway through the day.
Like 7 hours or 8 hours into the day. It's getting rough.
Yeah,
okay.
You're probably getting a little tired, a little hungry.
Yeah. I'm tired, but you know who I think is gonna be really in for the culture, in for the games, really gonna sit there for hours on end and play a nice, great game of Commander with me? I'm gonna go Post Malone. Taking the big shot here, okay? It's gonna be a good game. Post Malone, I think if anyone's gonna be able to endure it for the whole day, Post Malone loves Commander. So I think he's gonna be there for the whole time. And he's gonna be a good sport.
Yeah, he's nothing but a happy. Like he's always.
That's what I'm saying. He's just gonna be a good vibe. And Post Malone in the pod is gonna probably make the rest of the people I choose. They're gonna be more engaged.
That's true. Like
he's a buff to the rest of my pod.
Because there's not a person on this list, a Magic content creator, that would be caught being unpleasant near Post Malone lest they not properly kiss the ring. So I mean, they might they'll try and behave themselves, and it's possible they might be unpleasant to you.
Yeah,
as a way to like make an offering of you.
Post Malone is like the espresso shot that the rest of my pod needs to get through the day.
That's a good pick, Post Malone. So I need probably something similar then to wake me up.
Damn, you're gonna try to challenge me directly here?
I might need the most high energy person perhaps on this list.
Oh.
Tappy Toe Claws.
Yeah, that works.
The best dinosaur. I will pick Tappy.
Now I already took Brian, so that you might have a hard time finding the synergy.
We're stuck there. We can't. I hate to separate them, but hey, this is just how it is. we're doing this for their own good. We're trying to make the best commander pods that we can.
You know, you mentioned that they were the most energetic person on this list, and I noticed that we've left out a notable energetic human for the list here. We've got no Kyle Hill, which is okay. That's fine, but I think he would rival Tappy for energy level. But unfortunately, I can't counter you.
Spencer vetoed him from the invitation list, guest list.
Why did I do that?
And don't. Well, assuming we're gonna do this in this case, if we're gonna do it at the winery again, we're assuming like we've built like a. I mean, you've got the larger space down there too that we could always use.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You've done like an add-on so that we can fit this.
Of course, we've done an expansion.
Insane amount of people there.
Yeah.
So yeah, no Kyle at this one.
That's okay.
Yeah, and also anyone else that's like not on this list, like from like because we've got different shows that we're drawing from.
We probably just forgot.
We either forgot or we just don't know enough about them to like make like a judgment like pick on like how they'd go. So this is mostly just people that we know.
Exactly. So, okay, let's see. So I feel like with Post Malone, I don't want to throw in like someone who's gonna fanboy, right? That's not what we gotta do. So we gotta throw a real down to earth, normal person in that pod. So I actually, I wasn't thinking about where I would. I take this back. Not down to earth and normal, but person that's not going to get starstruck by Post Malone and going to act like himself, not change his personality. And maybe I'd have a hard time placing this person otherwise, but I think Ben Brode is going to be a good fit for that pod. I think Ben Brode would really hold his own. Someone that can have a big personality and stand up to a Titan.
You guys are going to have a lot of laughs.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Good pick. So with Tappy...
And I love Hearthstone, so I can talk about Hearthstone with Ben Brode.
I think I want to do the thing of mixing it up, like mixing up the shows or like I want to introduce people to each other that haven't like done a lot of stuff, but you also want to like have a good time. So I've been trying to like save my real like.
Oh, you got some like patrician picks in there. You got some big.
I've been trying to do this thing of like picking like my favorites as like number one of the pod to like make sure I've got like.
Some enjoyment there.
Yeah, I've got like a good personality in there.
Yeah.
I was gonna pick him eventually. I think I'm gonna get Jake Boss while I can.
Okay.
He seems like somebody I'd get along with great, and just he seems like a real chill dude that can kind of match the energy of whatever else is going on. So I'm gonna get Jake Boss.
And it would be good to get him out of the stop him from being chained up in the basement at the Command Zone Central, right? Let him take a break from working.
He's a fellow Bionicle fan like myself, and I feel like, assuming that she isn't already, like, we could introduce Tappy to the world of Bionicle, and I feel like she'd really enjoy Bionicles.
I could see Tappy being a Bionicle fan.
All right, so final pick of Pod 6 for Spencer Cook to go with Ben Brode and Post Malone. It's a lot of star power. I think you want to get like
we need. You know what we need? Okay, Post Malone. He's kind of a power gamer, maybe not as much as some people, but he's when you have the world at your fingertips when it comes to Magic cards, why not play a Time Twister? It's not that much better than it's not that much better than a Windfall, but you gotta flex a little bit, right? Sure, I'll play a bad Legends commander, that's fine, but they really need someone to humble them. Okay, we need a humbler. We need a cold hard killer. Okay. Someone ready to just mercilessly teach them that they don't know anything about Commander. And the person I got to pick for that, it's got to be Mr. Infect, Craig Blanchett from the Command Zone podcast.
Craig.
I think Craig would be a really nice agent in that game.
I like that.
And you know what else for that? I think I am the only person in this pod that's going to be able to expect what Craig is bringing. Because, I've followed the command zone lore. I'm going to be ready for what Craig's going to do to them. Whereas Post Malone, he's not blocking some random creature like that. Oh no, you're dead.
Also, like, I feel like Ben and Post, like, they wouldn't get mad if they died to Infect.
Yeah.
The only downside to that is if Craig kills them, like, super early in the game, then he's kind of, like, removed, like, one of those people, like, your experience of getting to play with them. So that's, like, the only downside I really see to that. But I think, I think he'd want to play longer with them. So I don't even know if he'd play Infect. I think he'd maybe he'd do, like, one of his slower Infect decks,
Yeah, I think it's got potential there.
Nice. Okay, so for my pod number 6 to go with Tappy and Jake Boss. We've cleaned out the Commander Clash crew. We're just about through EDH Rec.
Commander Versus is pretty clear.
Yeah, I think I want to keep mixing it up and doing different worlds of Commander, different shows. This is a nice, so far, like, I mean, we're getting a little bit older, Spencer, but this pod I got so far, people around our age, I think I want to keep that going. I want to have this, like, high energy, this youthful pod.
Yeah.
I'm going to get Callahan from the Playing with Power group.
Okay.
So I think he's right around our age, maybe a little bit younger. I think I want to get him in there with the fellow Zoomer-esque, elder Zoomers, as I'd call us, like right around the edge, right on the cutoff.
Do you think he'd make you some food or something? Is that the other guy?
That's Hermit.
Oh, dang.
He is not invited.
Or does Callahan have long hair?
Yeah, he's got
he's that guy. Okay.
Curly hair. I'm going to pick Callahan from the Playing with Power and hope that, he respects our power level, because I don't know if Tappy and Jake Boss, I don't know if they want to play CEDH. Or maybe he can loan us the decks. And then we can all play together. Either way, I'm happy with it. He seems like a nice guy.
Okay. Let's see. So that's your pod 6, right?
Yeah, so now
you're going to start pod 7.
Pod 7? Okay. I just saw him going through the list, and I want to get him while I can. I'm picking Justin Parnell. I've always wanted to play with him. He was my favorite person on the Star City Games Commander Versus crew from when I originally started watching that. I think he's a funny guy, high charisma. He left the show for personal reasons a few years ago. I think he's still playing Magic, hopefully, but I'd like to play with Justin Parnell. So I'm going to pick him.
Okay.
We're in the home stretch. We got 3 more games.
My problem is I'm not no disrespect to anyone on the list here, but like I've got to figure out who is like my like joke nightmare pod and who's like my actual nightmare pod, because like some people I think I kind of I clown on them, but it wouldn't be that bad to play with them. But some people
also if we're in the point where you're going to end up with like your
maybe
like we said, we're not trying to be mean or anything. It's just we feel like
clashing
there's
personalities.
People that maybe some people are just oil and water, and Spencer and I we're like oil with most people. I think so.
Well, I don't want to.
But you don't want that to be your last pod. Is the thing. You can't have that be the last game.
You're just trying to get me to pick them so you don't have to.
But what's worse, your last game being the nightmare one? Because at the last one, after that. You get to leave. You get to go home, right?
Yeah.
You get to wrap things up, and you can just take a deep breath. So, like,
okay, so I'm gonna go for
second to last. Actually, might be the worst one, because that one you don't even get to like leave right away afterwards. Like when you step outside of the game store after an especially like long night, and you feel that nice cold air on your face.
I'm gonna need to bring out some Commander politics here, Eli. If I make one of my nightmare pods here, I'm gonna need you to also take a couple hits for the team. I'm gonna need you to take some people that you don't want, so that I'm not only taking all away the people and then you take all the good people. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta play nice this round, okay?
Hey, all I'm saying is I took Krim on like pod number 2.
Yeah, and I don't remember who I took.
Alex.
Okay, I'm starting off right. Okay, I'm taking Spice 8 Rack. I'm gonna do it.
Ooh, bold.
I think I can make a pod.
Spencer Cook taking Spice. Now that's the one person on this list that I would have thought Spencer would, because Spencer is a known greedy capitalist.
Yeah.
He's for years been trying to ultra monetize the EDH Takes channel, and only me and my socialist wisdom can convince him. And I've been holding him at bay for long. He's been like, we got to have t-shirts. We got to have beer cozies. Like the new norm,
Yeah.
We gotta have all our merch, we gotta start making our Patreon and paywalling our episodes behind them.
Yeah.
I said, no, we cannot do that.
Well, I just figured if I take... I think you would be okay with having Spice 8 Rack, so I can't take away someone that you don't... I gotta take away someone that you don't mind taking, so you have to take someone that you don't like. Well, not don't like, but you know.
I'm not gonna take him, Spencer.
No,
you're trying to bait me.
Please take him.
I will, however, take, to go along with my Justin Parnell, I think I'm taking Joey Schultz.
Okay.
I'm taking Joey.
That's a pretty neutral pick.
Which I think gives me kind of like Monopoly rules. I've got all 3 of the EDH rec cast guys, so I feel like I get like an extra prize there for that.
Well,
so I'll pick Joey.
Yeah, if I land on that space, I'm paying you double.
I like Joey. It's just like, there's history there with us. I don't know if we've talked about much on the podcast. The infamous Joey, he's got a really funny joke that he likes to, and it's not the baby lasagna thing like the Reddit post pointed out. It's he's got a less age appropriate joke that we're for G audience person, so I don't feel like I can really repeat it on the podcast here. But just go to Joey's Twitter or his Blue Sky, whatever social media account he's got, and look at.
It will be pinned.
It should be pinned. If it's not pinned, it will show up within the.
It will be
top,
it will be retweeted.
Yeah, there'll be some version of it. So it's just,
it's just a little.
I don't want to hate on it. It's not like it's the worst joke, but you get to do that joke one time, right? Like that's how jokes generally. Unless you're a stand-up comedian and you got your routine, you get to do the joke the once. You don't keep doing it. It's inappropriate, Joseph. And you also, I feel like it's a little bit degrading to the person that you're referencing to. That's all you see them as. That's all you remember about your relationship. I'm not going to touch this one anymore. I'm just saying, Joey just.
We don't need to.
Joey's he's a bit of a. He's the type of Magic player. You guys ever play with this and this isn't anything. They're not doing anything wrong because they're just trying to have a good time, and I'm just being a hater. But when you're playing with a Magic player, as nerds in general, I think we do this thing where especially if you didn't have a lot of confidence, where you're like, oh, my thing is I'm funny, right? And they're just always trying to make everyone laugh, and it just gets a little bit grating after, where everything's got to be a joke.
I'm gonna nom my zomzoms.
And sometimes I'm just not in the mood for that. So this late in the day, it might be kind of rough. But Justin, I think, will be a good balance with Joey Schultz. So I'm gonna go with Joey Schultz.
So on that same note, you said you weren't. You said you weren't gonna take him. So I might as well bite the bullet. You were talking about Joey Schultz being a comedian. I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to take him. I'm gonna take comedian MTG. I think it's going to be...
Oh, I got some bad news for you, Spencer.
Why is that?
It's not who I was talking about.
Oh, shoot. Oh, no, there's another person. Okay, well, we're gonna suffer through a game. I think Spice 8 Rack, he could maybe get some CEDH coaching from Comedian. I know he offers that service, but he might give it to us for free, maybe. That might go well. So I think that's what I'm going for. And we'll just see, we'll see how we round this. Maybe I can find the pick to save the pod.
Well, that's actually, I think that's an interesting pick because Spice 8 Rack, he's kind of a political ideology type philosopher guy, and a CDH player is a real it's kind of a living problem of political philosophy.
So do you think that Spice 8 Rack could solve the CDH problem?
The CEDH prisoner's dilemma of
exactly.
Do what I like or I'll throw the game.
Yeah. Okay, well, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see how I wrap it all up together.
No, I like that. I think that kind of works in an interesting way. So for my pod with Justin and Joey, those are some pretty good guys. So I think I need somebody I'm kind of neutral. Not that I dislike, that I'm just kind of neutral with, because I don't want to have too many heaters in the same pot. I'm trying to spread it out a bit more since I got the God Rachel and Shivam pick with my, I had to balance it out with the Lynch thing, but I feel like that's a pretty good one. So I think I'm gonna go with I'm gonna take Mia from the Nitpicking Nerds. I've got Beezy, now I got Beezy's girlfriend. I'm gonna take Mia. She seems like a nice person. She seems really friendly, good energy, and I'm sure she's probably a fellow Commander Versus enjoyer. She might know Justin Parnell. And everyone likes Joey. Joey's very popular in the Magic community. I'm sure they get along good. I don't know that much about her, so I'm not going to say much more, but I think she seems like a fun person to play with, and I think that would work out well.
Okay. How am I going to fix this? Oh.
How am I going to fix this?
Eli's just going to... I don't want to save you by taking all of... Let me think. Okay, you know... This is a shame because I was trying to make my nightmare pod here and get rid of some picks that I wouldn't want to pick later. But I think I've actually failed at doing that because I'm looking at some other picks and they're people I wish I'd picked in this round. So I think I might just have to hope Eli picks some of them later, and I'll go for a neutral pick here to hopefully salvage this pod. So I think I'm going to go for Ashlyn Rose. I think she's going to be a good time.
Oh, Ashlyn, nice.
Ashlyn is, I think she could neutralize a bad time. I think she could bring the vibes up for sure. I think she might be what I need here.
And you also set up the interaction of Spice 8 Rack talking to a disgruntled former Command Zone employee who probably quit because she was only getting paid $8 an hour by the greedy capitalist Josh Lee Kwai.
Exactly. That's probably a good point, yeah.
So we're moving into Pod 8 then. And so I believe it's your turn?
Yes, I believe so. Okay, Pod 8 here. Not down to a lot of people.
I've got to cross my fingers and hope, because there's a few on here that I've been saving. I've been trying to ration them out.
Yeah, well, I don't want to... I got one in my mind, but I don't really think it would... it's a pick that I would take as a strategic pick to take it away from you, but I think I'm not going to, because I don't... It doesn't mean a lot to me, you know? It's not that important to me.
Are you practicing compassion and mercy?
I have to do it eventually. I think here... You know what? Let's take...
There's some good names left on the list.
Yeah. You know what? I think... I'm going to take Alias V from Elder Dragon Hijinks. I think we could put something together there. That's good.
You know, I was kind of forgetting about the webcam commander shows.
Yeah.
So that's a good pick. She seems like a really nice person, and she was a good guest when she came on. I don't really watch a lot of Elder Dragon Hijinks because I just don't watch a lot of the webcam commander shows because it's kind of a little harder to tell what's going on sometimes.
Yeah. It's harder to produce, maybe.
Yeah, it's
no, it's easier to produce. I lied.
It's easier to produce, but it's maybe a little harder to consume just because the visuals and sometimes people's audio maybe isn't the best, but
it's harder to make it look good.
They also get more guests on that more easily that way. They can get people from all across the world, and that's something that her co-host of that show, co-founder Olivia, now of the Rules Committee, was a big early proponent of the webcam commander movement. So them doing that show together is a kind of a really cool thing that they did, and I'm glad that they do it. So Alias V, that's a good pick for pod number 8. We're almost done with the night.
Could counter me with the Olivia.
I could split them up. I could take Olivia, but I've got one that I've been saving, and I want to make sure I get her. I'm going to pick Kristen, second in command to the Boros Legion.
That is, I was being merciful and not taking your Kristen pick.
And honestly, Kristen, please don't execute me, all right, as the second in command of the war leader that I picked you so low on here. I've been planning this. I'm trying to be a strategist like a good Boros Legionnaire, and I wanted to make sure that I had things spaced out in a nice way. And I wanted to have a good one for later in the night.
You wanted Kristen for the end of the night, so you could...
little treat for the end of the night. Have a fun game with a fellow Boros enjoyer.
Okay, that's great. Well, in that case, Eli, I think I'm gonna have to go for the synergy pick here. Try to actually come down and make a pure synergy pod. We're gonna take Olivia.
Nice.
Gotta do it, you know?
That's satisfying.
Olivia and Alias V, a match made in heaven for a commander game.
Spencer sitting down to that pod, and he's like, oh my god, it's just like I'm in an episode of Elder Dragon Hijinks.
Exactly.
Holy crap. But we're in person, it's crazy. Mm-hmm. It's real.
Yep.
It's what I always wished for. Shit, now who goes with Kristen, though, is the question.
It's really getting to the point where they're...
I'm going to pick this... I don't know how to feel about this, but I'm going to go with Cassius Marsh.
From the whatever football team he was part of.
From the football team.
From Cash Cards Unlimited.
Cash Cards Unlimited. Yeah, I'm going to pick Cash here. Cash.
Do you know what I know Cassius Marsh from? I know him from I Hate Your Deck. That's because they filmed I Hate Your Deck in Cash Cards Unlimited, didn't they? For some portion of time?
For some episodes, yeah.
So there you go. You got your I Hate Your Deck.
Yeah, I'm going to pick him because, we've got
representation.
Kristen, who's I'd like to think, the queen of the Boros Legion.
Yeah. The angel.
And so, to fight a queen, we need a king. We need King Cash.
Okay.
I'm going to do Cassius. He's a bit of a power gamer, but Kristen, she's a warrior. She's a scrapper. Like, she will not let him get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they'd make for a good game. Cassius, he can be a little salty sometimes, self-admittedly. He can get a little angry. But Kristen maybe can too sometimes, like everyone does. But I think they'd make for a competitive game. If I want to play like some of my stronger decks or something, I think we could have a good time.
Yeah.
We could have a strong Boros Royale maybe.
What do you think Cassius would play in the Boros Royale?
Winota.
True, fair enough. All right, Eli, you might have seen this coming, but I'm going to go for full synergy. We got Alias V and Olivia Goldberg-Hicks, and I think the only person who would synergize with all those people and make for a perfect in-person game is going to have to be Brian Kibler from Commander at Home.
Immaculate vibes.
Immaculate vibes. So this is really just like me sitting in on a game. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just joining their pod.
That really is like, yeah, you're not only have you been invited to Elder Dragon Hijinks, you've also been invited to Commander at Home.
Yeah.
And they have their dogs there with them for you.
Oh, I wouldn't. Don't worry, Eli. I would not. I wouldn't expect to get the privilege of them having their dogs there. It's okay.
I'm gonna insist that they bring them to the.
No. It's quite all right.
Okay, so we're. So I've got one more pick to go with, Kristen and Cassius for pod number 8. I wasn't gonna do it, but as we're going into our final pod, I think I'm gonna.
Bite the bullet.
I think I'm gonna be greedy.
No.
I think I'm gonna take Graham from Loading Ready Run.
No.
It's a shame he hasn't been picked before this. We didn't mean to pick him so late, but we were trying to save him, and I'm not gonna let you have him. I'm taking him.
You're a real greedy individual.
You got such a good pod there. I'm gonna throw Graham in the mix here.
Okay.
And I'm first picking for the final pod. I'm taking Mark Rosewater.
Yeah, I was thinking you were going to take him last in your last pod, but, I guess start of this pod. Well,
and I will, however, have to torture him a little bit. I'll say, Morrow, you get one story about Magic.
And you don't get to play your uncards.
No uncards.
Sorry, Mark. And Mark, your last Commander game, you won. Your first Commander win. We're going to make sure we don't have it happen again.
Happening again.
Yeah, sorry, Mark. It's just how it is. Okay, you got Mark. I think I'm going to start off this last. I'm going to go with Chase Mana Curves. I think Chase would make a good pick.
They're a good pick
for sure. Yeah, we'll just sling it back to you. Put the ball in your court. What will you do?
I'm taking Joe Cherries.
Okay.
Formerly of the Nitpicking Nerds.
Yeah, I can't remember a lot about Joe Cherries.
Honestly, I don't know if I've ever seen him play a game, but I know that him and BZ would have a disagreement every now and again, and so maybe he feels differently about the Grave Titan than BZ does. Maybe BZ was forcing that opinion on him, and that's why he left the show, because he couldn't stand to lie to people anymore.
Maybe Bizzler was like maybe he was making a real bad time, making a real bad environment for Joe Cherries.
Yeah, I'd like to get the scoop, so I'd like to hear what really happened between them, and have Mark Rosewater get his input on that and see what he thinks about it.
Well, I actually designed Grave Titan. Okay, sorry. Okay, you taking Joe Cherries.
I only got 2 out of 3 Joes.
It's a shame. Well, if you only got 2 Joes, I'll take another Joe. This one is Joe or Dan from the Command Zone. Jordan Pridgeon?
Jordan. I think Jordan and Chase would go good together in a game. That sounds fun.
Yeah, that's a good pod.
Okay.
I hate you, Eli. I hate you. Don't do it to me.
Yeah. So, man, who do we have left here?
You got 2 people left.
Oh, we're down to 2 people. Well, I mean, I think I'd better get a premier CEDH player in my pod with Mark Rosewater to show him what his game has become, truly. And so maybe we could play a CEDH game with Mark, because he's played EDH a few times, and he hates that. So maybe he'd feel differently about CEDH.
That actually
so I'm picking Ryan from Playing with Power MTG.
Now, you've made a grave mistake with that pick, Eli, because although you've left me with my nightmare, you've also decided to play a CDH game as your last game of the night. So you're going to go home
be quicker, I can escape.
Oh. No, Ryan's going to play stacks, okay? And you're not going to be safe for long. It's going to take ages. Okay. Well, you know what? I think for this last pot, I might just play a 3-player game, honestly.
No.
I mean, they're not so bad.
We invited him.
He's got to catch a flight. He
wouldn't miss it for the world. There's no way he's not coming. You're not getting out of this.
Could we play Warhammer or something instead, maybe?
No, he wouldn't fly with those. Too risky.
Yeah, you wouldn't. Well, yeah, you wouldn't want to lose your $10,000 army that you made. So, okay, I guess for the last pick, I'm gonna have to take Vince Pleasant Kenobi of Pleasant Kenobi fame. So,
as we've said many times at this point, well, not this night, because this is a night of peace. We're making peace with former foes, rivals. We're all friends here at the EDH Takes EDH Extravaganza.
Yeah.
But Pleasant Kenobi has a history with us. Kind of a dark history.
I think with Jordan and Chase in my pod, I think I'm going to ask that Pleasant Kenobi, he's got to have a Thalia commander deck, right? It's his favorite card. I'm going to assume he has a Thalia a Stacks commander deck, and I'm gonna ask him to play it, and I'm gonna hope that he does whatever I hope someone else gets mad at him at the pod, and then they can just engage with each other, and I'll just sit on the sidelines. That's what I'm gonna go for here.
Pleasant Kenobi kind of gives me the vibes of somebody who would never play a mono white commander deck.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what I mean by that, but I've got a few things in mind. Interpret that as you will.
I think if I can have... Chase is pretty friendly with the professor, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think if I could get Chase and Pleasant Kenobi in a fight, maybe we could, put a wedge between the professor and Pleasant Kenobi, maybe like through some sort of some sort of Game of Thrones-esque plot to separate them.
You go up after the pod at the end of the night when we're, everyone's packing up and everything, and you're like, man, Prof, Pleasant Kenobi was really mean to Chase in that game.
Exactly.
Like, I was shocked. He's like, whoa, really? Like, is that the case? And Chase has left already.
Yeah.
Pleasant Kenobi, he left early too. He's got to go catch his plane. Like, he's only staying the one day, like, he's leaving immediately.
He's not there for the complimentary breakfast at EDH Takes Manor. So yeah, that could, we'll see. We'll see how that ends up going.
So now that we've done all our picks, do we want to go through and discuss kind of our thinking a little bit more, and maybe like kind of talk about like how we think like each pod would go, and like kind of
quickly,
just go through like exactly what our pods were to remind the listeners here.
Yeah, sure.
So how it looks as a whole. So as a reminder, my pods, it's me and 3 other people, and same deal for Spencer. So my first pod was made up of Rachel Weeks, Shivam, and Michael David Lynch. Now, that's a controversial thing that I did, and I apologize. I know how Lynch is not. He did some bad things. I understand. We put him on here because we thought in our arrogance that it would be funny. I apologize if this comes across as very offensive, but
if anyone can reform Michael David Lynch, it's
Rachel was a frequent guest on I Hate Your Deck back in the day.
They have synergy.
So they know each other, and when the Lynch stuff came out, Rachel notably requested that the unaired episodes that they had filmed that hadn't come out yet, that they would not be released with her on them. So I just thought, there'd be a bit of drama there. Maybe we can, but like, Outside of that, I mean, Lynch seems like as far as like a Magic player.
He seems like a fine, a fairly friendly Magic player.
But he must answer for what he did, and for that, Rachel will be there for that.
And I also think that, if Rachel's in a pod with Lynch, you can like grow your own influence by taking a stand against injustice and getting on their good side.
I'll say, Lynch, how dare you? How dare you do those things that you did? We're gonna really stick it to you by inviting you to the extravaganza to air you out here publicly,
and paying for your flight and hotel.
Yeah,
we do that like the professor, so we get a Patreon.
So that's how we'll punish him. Is we'll make him come to the EDH takes
and put
EDH
him up
extravaganza.
In a nice
yeah.
place. All right,
but I think Shivam and Rachel will be a good time. So hopefully it's not too awkward with Lynch. Maybe we can have a redemption arc with Lynch. That's not going to happen. But just yeah. So we had him on the list because we had the I Hate Your Deck guy. Joe's Tabletop Jocks now, but we were thinking of the prominent Commander shows of the last few years that we know of, that we watched episodes of, and so he had to be on the list.
All right,
so that's why he's on there. I get him out of the way early.
Now I'd like to argue my pod 1 real quick, Eli. Who do I have my pod 1 here?
You got Josh Lee Kwai, the Professor, and Gavin Verhey. Very, very powerful. Real you got like 3 heaters, like kind of front loaded. Pod number 1 to get your energy up.
I feel like you're having more fun in your pod, Eli. But I think
with Lynch,
yeah, it's exciting.
It's exciting.
But
me when I make problems.
But I think you got to give me this one. You got to give me round 1 for the heaters that are the
for
Titans
better vibes.
Yeah, you got to give me. We got to score this.
Let's score this. I'll make a little check here.
Yeah, you got to just give me this one.
Yeah,
okay?
I think Spencer's pod number 1 has the better vibes, but I did what I had to do because somebody was going to get Lynch, and I was playing the long game here to avoid other certain names.
That's funny. You in round 1 you took Lynch. Round 8 I had to take Vince. So it's a fair trade, I would say.
Yeah. So we're going into pod 2 then. So you had Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, Spike Feeder Alex, and Murph.
What was I thinking for that one? I think my favorite in that pod is going to be Seth. I think I would love to play with him because I don't really know what I would expect. I think he's, like I was saying earlier, I think he's a kind of a similar Magic player to me, but
he's a value man.
But Seth is the kind of guy who I think could bring some pretty wacky decks out sometimes. Some pretty niche, pretty weird decks. I think Seth was the guy who I think built Plarg, but with no low mana cost spells except for the suspend cards. So
that sounds cool.
That sounds like something that he would do. So I don't know what Alex is going to do in this pod, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, you really shocked the audience by second picking pod 2 Spike Feeder Alex.
I also shocked the audience because unfortunately we didn't have friend of the show Sheepwave on this list, but we could have made it a shock box game. We could have had a shock box game.
We could have had the Commander shock box.
But honestly, I'm not super impressed with my composition here. I don't know what you got, but I think if it's anywhere decent, I think you're going to get this round. Who you got?
So I had number 1 a pod 2. First among equals, the War Leader, Commander Replay, PJ, which I was excited to get that early. I had to secure that early. And with him, Dana Roach, who they had a bit of a spat, as we talked about earlier a few years ago. But, it's just Twitter, right? Like, surely
humans.
We've got PJ. He's a man in his 30s. Dana Roach, I think, is in his mid-40s. Like, if they can't forgive each other for that, like, if they can't get over that, Dana apologized to PJ. I'd sit them down, I'd say, do you guys remember this? They might not even remember it.
Yeah, and,
it's years ago.
PJ, the War Leader, Boros, right? Sword of War and Peace.
Like, we talk about the 3 R's of Boros, one of them being revenge. Now, to truly be a War Leader, you must overcome that. You don't hold on. You don't get to be the War Leader by holding petty grudges. You only hold on to your major grudges. And so PJ, I don't think he would begrudge Dana.
And who was the third person on that pod?
Krim.
Oh, the Agent of Chaos. Well,
the criminal.
So I think overall you've got the win there, but I just want to point out Krim as the wild card, if he starts throwing a removal in the wrong direction, it might turn into a sour game from some people. PJ, the war leader, does not suffer eating a lot of removal, as he says.
Here's what I could do, though, is I've got a few decks that kind of, they eat a lot of removal, as you like to say, and they are hungry for removal. So maybe I play that deck to suck it all up so that PJ and Dana can kind of have a good game.
Just make sure that you put a Miko Koro in your deck so PJ can have a good game.
I can do that. I got my secret rendezvous, all that stuff.
You got your Weather Wayfarer for your Miko Koro.
I got my humble defector.
Yep.
So you're gonna give the win to me for pod number 2?
I'm gonna give you the win.
I'll take that.
I'll give it in great.
I think they're pretty balanced, but I just like your pod 2 is just kind of very like Seth is good, but it's kind of a more mellow pod. Whereas mine, I've got PJ.
I'm jealous of that.
We've got a PJ.
We've got a whole.
All right, pod number 3. I first picked Tomer, then Matt Morgan, finished up with Jeremy Knoll. Now, this is a pretty not like these are like the major heaters, but like this is just this is a solid all-around pod.
You've got no weak spots in that pod.
Yeah, there's no real people that like I'm not super happy to see there. Like that's a good pod. Whereas you have Rebel, very good pick, with Stephen Green and Joe Johnson. I don't know if there's really like a weak spot in that pod. Like, I mean, maybe Joe can be a little competitive sometimes, but like
maybe we're playing a game that's a little stronger than I want to play. You know, maybe that's the downside there. Maybe I can't hang with these heaters, but gotta have a little confidence. You gotta test your metal against some real heaters. Like
you got really good synergy with Rebel and Stephen Green there.
Joe Johnson, I think, is a little bit of a wrench in the cogs, but I think he's really establishing himself as a person who can have a lot of different people on his show, though. So I think maybe
he gets along with everyone.
I think Joe Johnson really has had his redemption arc. I think maybe 2 years ago he could have been a negative to the pod, but I think Joe really is coming to the fold. He's found his own.
Didn't he have to do, like, after there was that big Reddit post about him, didn't he do like a response video where I might be misremembering this, didn't he specifically say like I've been going to therapy or something like that to like deal with like some of this stuff or something?
And so you know what? We have Joe Johnson at his best self. So I think he's gonna I think I got a good pod, Eli. I think you got a hard time here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how we want to do this one, but I'll if you think yours is better, I'll let you choose this one. That's fine. Whatever you think.
I think your pod's a higher, maybe a slightly higher risk as far as like possible like salt or like hurt feelings maybe, but also a much higher reward. So I think I'm going to give it to you.
All right, I'll take it. Thank you, Eli.
We'll give you that one.
Ever humble.
And then we'll go into the next pod. Now I might win this one.
Okay.
Because I got the man, I got the legend, Benny Smith. Followed up by Tori of the Vast, I believe, this Scry baby. And Beezy, old Beezus. Whereas you have Lady Danger, the other Scry baby, Lewis Stardust herself, and Jimmy Wong.
Okay.
This is a toss-up. We've got two legends of the command. Now, not to say that the Scry babies are not legends in their own right.
They're just newer.
But they're new. They're not of the old guard of Commander Legends. Whereas Jimmy Wong, Benny Smith, we've got the original Magic Commander podcaster and the original Magic Commander article writer / book writer.
Yeah.
What do we think?
Well, does Jimmy have any cards named after him in Commander? I don't think so. Benny does.
About the copy token from Star City Games?
No, I mean the Benny Brack zoologist. And Jimmy doesn't have any Jimmy cards.
Give it like 2 more sets with like modern-ish theming, and we'll have a Jimmy in a set.
Yeah, if there was a Jimmy in like Stranger Things, he would have been golden. But I think your pod has more pizzazz and more chances to be something magical.
My pod looks like a pod that wrote the book on Commander, I think.
Yeah, my pod.
Your pod is good. I think the vibes would be good in your pod, but mine would be legendary.
I think my pod relies on what kind of attitude Jimmy's going to bring to the game. You know, I think Jimmy is the wow factor in my pod. I think if Jimmy's having a getting, you know, like that game nights where Josh Equai kept bullying Jimmy so hard,
Ooh, that's a good point. I forget about that aspect of Jimmy. That Jimmy is also a bit of a salty guy sometimes. They used to meme on him for it, and it's a running joke in their thing. But yeah, he's apt to have and also he's going to miss his land drops, as everyone likes to point out.
Yeah.
So that might be a bad game.
Just as long as Jimmy doesn't play a mono white deck, we'll have a good game.
Jimmy, yeah, he's going to play his mono white deck. He's going to miss land drops
and discard a land.
Lady Danger's going to murder some creature of his that's like not that good, and he's going to get upset about it. So, whereas I think Benny, Tori, and Beezy, I think...
Hold on a second, though, because I think Benny has been known to throw a little bit of rage on the Twitter, you know, about...
Now, that's just in 1v1 brawl on Magic Arena.
So you're suggesting that is not going to translate over to Commander, you think?
I think that Benny, in a game of Commander, he would understand the responsibility he has to set a good example for these youngsters, me, Tori, and Beezy.
Well, and I think...
nearly 30-year-old people.
And I think Benny, especially at this point in his life, looks more like he wrote the book on Commander than he ever has. So I'm going to give you this one. You can have this win.
You know how like George R. R. Martin, he's been working on the Winds of Winter, the next Song of Ice and Fire novel for like decades now,
or something,
or however long. Like, do you think Benny's been working on the sequel to the complete Commander for that long?
Oh my god!
Think maybe I could get like a teaser.
What if he just dropped it? Like the Kendrick album,
if he dropped
it out of nowhere?
A sequel to his book before the Winds of Winter, that would be insane. That'd be epic.
All right, so you got this.
I'm giving the win to me. I'll take the win on that one. All right, pod number 5. So we're kind of on the hill here of the night. So you had Kathleen from Loading Ready Run, the Magic Man Sam, and the Cod Father himself from MTG Goldfish, Richard. Whereas I had Spike Feeder Jim of the Rules Committee, very powerful, Mitch from Commander's Quarters. And then I had Jonathan Suarez from Commander Versus.
Okay. Now I want to say I like my pod here. I think my pod is really just a stand-up experience.
I like your pod too. I mean, I've got Jim, which I feel like if we're going to like power scale these individuals, I feel like out of the 6, Jim for Commander might be the strongest.
And then you said you had John Suarez?
But as far as like forces of personality, I think Kathleen and Sam just kind of together.
Yeah, and Sam is powerful, but I think he's less powerful in the Commander context a little bit, right? He's more of a beacon of magic in general, right?
Yeah. And then Richard, he's a very good Commander player though. So I mean, I think you maybe have a better. So I've got my pick of Jim with Mitch, just to stir shit up, like I did in Pod 1. So as far as actual good times, I think you've got this. And one pretty easy.
I think Kathleen's going to lead to a great game.
Yeah, with Sam and Richard, I think that's a good time. Damn. So Spencer's in the lead, ahead by 1 right now, going into Pod 6. Spencer starting it off with Post Malone.
Mm-hmm. Power gamer.
Followed by Ben Brode.
Power designer.
Mr. Infect.
And
power mechanic player. So Craig. And then I've got Tappy Toe Claws, Jake Boss, and Callahan from the Playing with Power crew. Who, honestly, like we don't know that much, but he's on here because he's one of the CDH players we could think of.
Yeah. And
we wanted to represent all different like channels and communities.
We should have put Kai on the list. I remember we have him too.
The Kai.
The Kai. The lie.
Oh, I don't know if I mean, this is a...
You don't want to fight this one.
This was a strategy thing, like, as far as, like, playing the long... So
You're giving this one up, right?
I think Spencer's got this one. I mean, Tappy and Jake and Callahan, I think we'd have a really good time. I think it'd be high energy, be a chill game. But you've got Post Malone. Come on.
Yeah.
Post Malone. Yeah. Posty.
It's Posty, man. And you know what? He'll have a new tattoo. A new magic tattoo just for the event. He'll get the EDH Takes tattoo.
Oh my... Dude, what if we could, like, get him to, like... what if we showed him like the little logo we made like over the artwork of the bird, and we're like, post like we made that bird, like that was us, and he's like, that's freaking epic, that's awesome. And like he gets an EDH takes like logo like with our name on it too, because like he thinks that's the only image of it, because he's never seen that card. Nobody's ever seen Indestructible Aura.
Yeah.
So if this ever happens, nobody tell Post Malone about Indestructible Aura. The only version of that artwork is with our logo on the front of it.
And I've got to air out the dirty laundry. I love Post Malone in a Magic Gathering context. I only have one complaint, one small complaint about Post Malone. Okay, and that is that because of Post Malone, he made Game Nights a new opening song for their Game Night series, and I prefer the original one. That's my very...
You've ruined us.
So you've ruined Game Nights, Post Malone.
Everyone's going to unsubscribe now. You said something bad about Post Malone.
It's a small complaint.
God forbid.
It's a very small complaint. I liked the original Game Nights intro more than the new one.
That's I'm trying to think like where there's like some... semi-viral like social media post of somebody just being like, I went to a Post Malone concert and he smelled like shit, like he really stank, and it was just like somebody just like lying about him, I think, like, because it was like, well,
I mean, he would fit in with Magic players if that was the case. Not that is the case, but
so I wonder what he smells like at the extravaganza during the 6th hour of this.
Probably heavenly.
Well, probably better than everyone else, honestly.
Yeah.
Pod 7. So I had Justin Parnell, the former host of Commander Versus, followed by Joey Schultz.
Okay.
And Mia from the Nitpicking Nerds, the replacement to Joe Cherries after he left.
Very neutral inclusion there, I think.
Whereas you had Spice 8 Rack, Comedian MTG, and Ashlyn Rose.
Yeah, that's... I've kind of... No disrespect, but I don't really want to be around in the same pod as Spice 8 Rack and Comedian MTG, so I don't want to fight for this one.
I think I've got a pretty good pod there. I think Justin,
I think you got
Joey. Because I mean, for all the things we've like maybe complained about Joey before, I think he actually would be like a fine person to be around, like play Magic with.
Yeah,
I don't think he'd be a bad time.
I think if you bring a positive mindset, you can pretty much everyone. I think if I go into any of these games with a positive mindset, I'm gonna enjoy everyone's presence.
Yeah,
we're just certified hater boys.
So I'll take the win on that one if that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then going into pod 8, so we're almost done with the night. You've got Alias V.
Yeah.
Olivia Gobert Hicks. Yeah. And Brian Kibler.
The synergy pod.
That is strong synergy. Whereas I've got Kristen, Cassius Marsh, and Graham from Loading Ready Run. Now this
hold on a second. That's actually those are some powerful people though.
Those are some good names, but
I don't know how you feel about that, but
this is a tough one because you've got such strong synergy, but do you think you could overcome your disdain of Brian Kibler?
I think I have the objectively more fun pod. I just don't think it's right for me. You know what I mean? I think I would have less fun than the average.
Because that's
Magic
something
player.
we got to remember. All these pods, we're in the pod too, so we got to think of ourselves as an element of this.
I can't handle Brian Kibler. He's just too perfect. You know what I mean? Like he's just got no negative qualities and that's a negative quality in itself. You know what I mean?
So while you played this very well, the fact that like you said, it's a very good, but with you in it, like not that like you're gonna be the problem, but like there's just something about it where it's like we said, oil and water personality. It's just like the energy is just different than Spencer might be looking for. And also, I've seen enough of their stuff to know that I think Brian and Olivia are the types to play like, like they don't play like competitive, like not crazy strong stuff, like maybe not like a Joe Johnson
not
type
like
deck.
Joe Johnson,
but they'll play some pretty like nutty stuff and try and play it real like low key, which I think might be a personal Spencer trigger.
I think they're playing like a Commander Versus power level kind of thing, or what do we think? Is that do they play strong stuff?
Commander Versus is pretty like lower, like medium power, but like.
Yeah, but I understand they play it.
They might play some strong stuff.
They play some strong stuff in a.
And they'll play dog tribal.
Yeah, that is gonna really frustrate me if I see a Rin and Seri deck. I'm probably like not having fun at all.
I respect the synergy of your thing, but I think I might have a better time because like Cassius, like he can be a little salty sometimes, but I'm the type of person like if I see something like that happen, like say his Narset gets countered on like turn 2 or whatever, or turn 3, and like he scoops out of the game, I'm gonna think that's funny as shit. I'm gonna have a good time. I'm not gonna.
You're gonna have a better story to tell than I will.
Also, personally, like I've talked about before, one of the best things that can happen for me, and this holds true for a lot of people, and a lot of people probably have a similar thing that happens in their commander pods or their play groups, where the best thing that can happen for you if you like to be a bit of like a power gamer, like play some pretty strong cards or strong decks, is if there's somebody in your group or your pod that plays even stronger stuff. So me having Cassius as a lightning rod for like all the early removal and stuff, and to like be the first arch enemy,
you can play whatever you want.
That's great for me. I love that.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
I think I could take this one, Spencer?
I'll give it to you.
I think Graham is just and Kristen is a legend. Like I've always wanted to talk to her. So
yeah,
like, even if we're having a bad game, I feel like I can have a good time, like just talking to these people. So
yep. So what's our before our last pod here? What's our rankings?
We're tied up here.
We're tied up 4-4. Okay.
So we've got for the final pod to see who's won the day.
My hubris really is gonna come and bite me in the butt. Like I thought I could get away with it, but I didn't think far enough ahead to realize that I had the last pick for the day. You know, I had to. So why don't you read out the pods, Eli?
So I've got Mark Rosewater, Joe Cherries, and Ryan from Playing with Power for pod number 9. And Spencer has Chase, a.k.a. Mana Curves, Jordan Pridgeon from the Command Zone. He's been on a few episodes, but people probably know him as the guy that writes those hilarious ads that you listen to, at least like 3 or 4 of them every episode of the Command Zone.
I'm Xenaghost the Reveler, and I'm losing my hair.
And Pleasant Kenobi.
Vincent. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm... I mean, do you think...
What if you had a really good time, though?
No.
What if
that would be worse.
What if he was a really nice guy in person?
That would ruin everything.
That would ruin everything because you'd feel bad for everything we've said.
Do you think we could get in like a fist fight? Do you think that would be good? I think that could be fun. Well, maybe at this point in the night, everyone's gotten drunk enough that it'll be, you know what I'm saying? Maybe we've all, you know.
Either you're drunk enough or you've started to sober up.
Well, what do you have to say about your pod, Eli? Give me a reason why I shouldn't win.
Well, to be honest, I'm pretty neutral on this one. I mean, like, I've got Mark Rosewater, and a lot of people probably think, like, you're crazy. Why wouldn't you... Morrow's awesome. He's amazing. He's so funny. He's so much fun. I'm like, this is a real hot take. I mean, like, I respect him a lot. He's a smart guy. He's very obviously incredibly important to the game of Magic, and we owe him a lot. I'm not a huge Mark Rosewater fanboy. Like, I don't feel like... There's certain celebrities that I feel like if I interacted with, like, I'd be pretty... Like, I wouldn't have much to say to him. I've never listened to an episode of Drive to Work. I've read very few of his articles. I've been pretty neutral on his appearances on, like, game nights or, like, Command Zone and stuff, like, on his podcast stuff. And I don't really have any particular feelings one way or another about Joe Cherries and Ryan. So, like, whereas, like, Chase, and I think Chase is a pretty cool person.
Yeah.
Jordan, he's got that kind of theater kid energy. Like, you know.
Could be a good time.
Could be a good time, maybe.
And I just want to say one thing that I will go out on a limb and say that, you know, okay, so Mark Rosewater's Blogatog, posts a lot of stuff on there, right? I will say, I really don't like the Tales from the Pit, or whatever, that segment that he does on there, where it's the pit is like an area where they do like design stuff, and it's like I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like it's like an old school like realistic comic kind of like picture that he puts into it, and I just don't vibe with it. Okay,
sure.
So I don't know why I felt the need to air that grievance, but I just... Well, Eli, you also didn't account for one important thing. Mark Rosewater in a pod is not something you want for the last pod of the day, because he is going to be telling stories about the cards, you know, and you just want to go home. You want it to end. Mark Rosewater's the kind of guy who's going to lengthen the game.
Or maybe, now assuming that we're going to allow these people, that we're not just like having them locked up in crates until like we break them out for the game.
They're going to be playing other games, maybe.
Let's assume they've been playing other games before this, maybe, like with each other, or doing whatever.
You're going to say maybe he's too tired?
Maybe he's out of steam. Maybe he's run his voice a little bit raw. Like, you know, we've experienced that at the extravaganza. By the end of the day, you've been drinking, you're a little bit dehydrated maybe, like you've talked too much. It's loud in there.
Well, Pleasant Kenobi kind of always sound like he's got a sore throat. But...
So, yeah, I guess what it comes down to is... I might leave this up to you. If you can... If there's no reality you can see having a good time in your pod, then I'll take the win on this one. But otherwise, I think it could go either way.
I don't need the win. I don't want the win.
I don't want the win.
I'm defeated.
I don't even want to have a good time at this point. I just want to leave.
I'll concede and drop out of the game, and you can have the pod win.
Well, with that, I win 5-4. That was very close. I think we did a pretty good job, if that's the case.
Very competitive bout we had.
Pretty good day of Commander Pods then.
So yeah, thank you, all of these Magic personalities for participating in this video. Your invitations will be in the mail.
Yeah, thank you, and you will be coming at this point. We put a lot of effort into this, so yeah, like I guess they can play games with each other while like between the pods. Maybe.
Just make sure that once our games end, that you know. Just leave yours where they are so we can get to the next pod. You know, like we're not going to be waiting around for you guys to finish.
Yeah, we've got this figured out like perfectly. So
yeah,
it's got to work like this.
And just know we will be playing by the normal Mulligan rules. So you know we how much Eli? Do you think any of these gameplay channels? Do you think they play by like strange Mulligan rules?
The only ones I can think of is game nights, like Command Zone. They, at least on their filmed episodes, like Extra Turns game nights, they have like a just a free mulligan system as long as you can prove that like you don't have turn 1 Soul Ring in your hand or something. Like you can't you can't dig for a Soul Ring or something like that.
Okay.
I think Shuffle Up and Play, Brian seems like a really chill guy, so he probably has something similar to that. I don't imagine that Tabletop Jocks or like I Hate Your Deck do something like that. They feel like they're pretty serious gamers.
It would be really funny if, like, the Spike Feeders did that or something. That would be pretty funny.
Dude, if, like, Playing with Power had, like, a weird, like, that... There's no way. Like, there's...
Yeah, they play draw 10, put 3 back.
Oh my God. Now, were there any people that you really wanted that got snatched away from you, Spencer? In our draft?
Let me take a look real quick. I think Rachel was a high level pick, but I didn't need it, but that would have been a nice one to have. I think it would have been funny if I could get Mitch for the Commander's Quarters. I kind of wanted him. Same with Lynch in that same sense.
Oh, that would be an amazing pod. We get Lynch.
Yeah, Lynch and Mitch.
Who would you throw in with them? I say we have to make like a
problematic
Kenobi in there, like
yeah. I'm kind. Let's see. Oh, I would have liked PJ, but I think you deserve him. You deserve each other. I never have given PJ money, so I think you got that one.
I've actually played Commander games with him before. I played 2 Magic Online games with him in the past.
Very nice.
I think one of them crashed.
I'm jealous you got Graham. I think Graham's a good time.
You got Kathleen's. I got Graham.
Yeah, I think that's a fair split.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Every like group that we drew from, except for EDH Rec, like I got Monopoly on them. But aside from that, we had a pretty good split back and forth of splitting up the shows and the people and mixing them together.
Yeah, we couldn't include everyone, like obviously, but I could have gone. You know, it would have been. They weren't on the list, but you know, I could have liked to get some of the other Loading Ready Run people. They're all great. Oh, you know, someone who just came to my mind that's not on this list. That could have been. You know, it doesn't really work because I've never really they don't really do gameplay like that, but it would have been cool to have someone like MTG Mudsta or something.
Yeah.
Like, you haven't really seen like them play a game, so you don't really know what they're like, but they're kind of an icon of the OG Commander, right?
Yeah. He can come to the next year's one. We'll have to revisit this
Yeah.
concept. We've got what we did here is this was mostly, like we said, just people we could think of from different shows and stuff that we've talked about over the last couple of years of EDH takes, like notable personalities, you know, the famous and infamous people of Magic YouTube. Yeah, this was a fun experiment. I'm looking forward to the next extravaganza. I'm sure our IRL friends will be a little disappointed that they don't get to come, but they're not famous enough.
Exactly.
Now, let's say maybe we should revisit that concept with like actual people we know or something, or just like as a personal fun thing at some point.
If we had an extravaganza in person, we could like do that as an event where we draft them live, draft the people.
Do we pick teams so that we can have somebody feel really bad? They get picked last?
Yes.
We single them out.
I think we take Jesse last because he can take it.
We go, Jesse, you're picked last. Well, yeah, this was fun. So as far as ones that I wanted that you got, I would have wanted Stephen Green, but I
picked him early.
I think I got 3 out of 4 Commander versus guys from at least the era that I was watching. So I'm pretty happy with that. And then you got JLK and Jimmy, but I got Rachel, so I got to be happy with that. I got Shivam. Looking through your list, you got Rebel. I maybe would have liked Rebel. Seth, pretty good. The Professor, yeah, that was your first pod.
Yeah.
Was a pretty good pod. I kind of missed out on Josh and the Prof. But aside from that, I think I got just about everybody I wanted. So I think this worked out pretty well.
Very nice. Well,
I was very surprised that you went for the Spice 8 rack before you, but like you're probably thinking, if I don't do it now, I might get stuck with a double British pod.
That could have been rough. Well, isn't why do I is Kristen British?
I think she's around
something
there,
like that.
The area, yeah, she's
something like that.
I don't know my my Great Britain geography, the area that well to like
the British Isles.
She's like and one of the off British types, I think.
She's Welsh. I don't know.
Something like that. All right, well.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this was a fun thing. Everyone, apologies if this video was kind of a lot of people. Somebody's probably listening to this and being like, "Who the hell even are these people? Like, what is all this? Like, I don't know any of these people."
Be like, "Why do you hate?
What
Grim?
Even is this?
What's going on?
Why are you guys so mean?" No, like I said, we invited all these people to the extravaganza, so they're gonna be there. They're gonna play exactly how we want them to. They better.
And we will lock them up in a room and never let them go, so that we can be the only Magic gameplay.
We would have invited more, but the venue can only fit around 55 people in it. So
yeah,
that's what we got. Let us know if there were any notable personalities that we forgot, or people that you would have picked. If there's any picks that you think were crazy or like very high synergy, like that you want to respect, like Spencer's Alias V Olivia Kibler pod. That's a powerful pod. That's a good one.
Also, let us know your dream pod.
Yeah, what's your dream
and your nightmare
pod Commander using Magic personalities, or like maybe like just people from history, or like what do you think? Like,
for me, my dream pod's definitely got to be George Washington, Rosa Parks, and
you like
Walter White,
Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan, Elon Musk.
Yeah, that's probably a good
Spencer
pod.
Cook. That's a good pod. All right.
I think Jimmy Wong, Jordan Peterson, and God would be a good fucking
Yahweh himself.
pod. Yeah. All right. Thank you for listening, guys, and watching the
video.
video.
Let us know what you think of the video. We'll hopefully be getting out some more stuff soon. We're gonna try and get more videos out. I mean, it's not a high bar to clear, but hopefully more videos. Well, if you count the 3 little memes we put out already, with this one, I think we're tied for last year. So
that's a success.
Some more stuff incoming, hopefully. Maybe fewer podcasts, but maybe more videos and just fun little ideas like this. Just fun stuff to get kind of our passion reignited for the YouTube stuff again. So yeah, please give us a subscribe. We could really use it after the great YouTube purge. We lost about like 15 or so, like I think after
Yeah.
posting those things because they were offensive. People didn't like it. They didn't like us clowning on Jimmy a little bit or reading out insane schizophrenic comments
Or implying that someone got in a car crash.
or implying that a person driving presumably over 30 miles an hour with no hands on the wheel while not looking at the road might get in a car accident. It was too far with that one that we did that. That's not okay.
Who is also a father. Okay, thank you.
But anyways,
guys.
yeah, thanks for watching. We'll be back soon.